You're listening to the 5 Minute Friday podcast episode of The Aligned Self. This is your host, Daniel Danovi. Okay, 5 Minute Friday, a short and concise podcast episode of The Aligned Self, designed to leave you with a question, an idea, a strategy, a tip, a hack, in order to give you greater access to your conscious awareness, evolving your conscious awareness, or give you greater mastery over your mind. Hello, friend. In this 5 Minute Friday, I'm piggybacking on the previous two episodes where I talked about questions. And as you listened to the last episode, and I'm sure you listened to the last episode, I started it out talking about what if. What if everything goes wrong? And I talked about how the nature of the human mind is to focus on the downside of a situation, to consider what could go wrong. What if everything goes wrong? Because our first priority, the mind's first priority, is to keep you safe. It's to keep living. And so it is on the lookout for the pitfalls, the obstacles, the things that could cause you pain. And as I discussed in the last episode, that when we enter a context, a particular way of framing a situation, we tend to get stuck in that frame of reference, in that context. So if you're asking the question, if you're focusing on what can go wrong, you don't typically consider what can go right. So in this 5 Minute Friday, I want to orient your mind towards possibility. Instead of what if everything goes wrong, what if everything goes right? What if it's easier than you ever contemplated it to be? And what if it gets easier and easier all the time? And instead of thinking, what if there's nothing but closed doors? How about what if doors open that I had no idea could open? What if I have people that show up to support me, to assist me along the way, both seen and unseen, known and unknown? Synchronicity, the universe works on your behalf to pave the way forward. What if everything unfolds like magic? You see, typically people hold back. They're waiting for the right moment. Someday I'll do that. Well, someday is not on the calendar. Someday is today. What if all your dreams will come true? Everything that you've always wanted, you will attract. But the only caveat is the universe wants you to get started today. Today. If that was the only thing that was standing between you and everything you wanted, would you get started today? And it's not a big step. You don't have to take a big step. You just have to lean in the direction of your dream. And maybe you just sit down and you contemplate. Like that's an action step, thinking, what is the smallest step I can take right now that will move me closer to the fulfillment of my dream, my goal, my intentions? And all you have to do is write it down and you say, tomorrow I will take action on this item. And then the next day, you focus on what's the next step you can take, and then the next step, and the next step, and the step after that. And before you know it, you're on your way. And the universe is saying, now's the time. What if now is the time? What if the only thing that's been holding you back is you? What if there's a multitude of people waiting for you in the wings, out in the world, for you to show up? They're waiting for you to offer your service, waiting for you to offer your product. What if, because of who you are, because of your circumstances, your history, your past, and your skill set, that you are uniquely gifted to be the one to deliver to other people? And they've been waiting. In fact, some of them don't even know you exist, or the possibility of what you offer even exists. And what if, just in the process of getting started, of putting yourself out there, the universe begins to conspire on your behalf and guides all these people to you? It continually fascinates me when I put out a podcast episode. I mean, when I first started a year ago last April, I'm still fairly young in the podcast space, but I only had, about 20 people that first got on board, and then it multiplied and then multiplied. And now we have a couple thousand people that regularly listen, and then people come in and people go out. So there's even more than that. And it fascinates me that when I put out a podcast, that I'll get a dozen people contact me. And not everyone that gets touched by a podcast episode reaches out and tells me, hey, that was really good for me. But they take the initiative and they say, you were speaking just to me. I needed to hear that. That was the perfect message for what I was going through at that moment. And frankly, I'm amazed. I'm amazed that that was the perfect message for them. Well, I'm only amazed from the conscious part of me. When you know that you're plugged in and the universe is conspiring on your behalf, and that people stumble upon a podcast, they do a random Google search, and you come up through a thread that's connected to another thread, and they weren't specifically looking for you, but then they happen upon this message. So that's what I'm saying to you. From your current vantage point, you have no idea of the people that are waiting for you to deliver your message, for you to put yourself out into the world. And it doesn't have to be a big way. You just have to put yourself out there into the marketplace, in the world. It could be in your current business. How many smiles can you give away? Just show up as the most magnificent expression of you. Be uniquely you, your unique gifts, your unique skill set. Just show up in the circumstances, in the environment of which you're already in. For instance, just a couple days ago, I was out and about in North Dallas late, much later than I anticipated, and I pulled over into a gas station about 6 minutes before 12, midnight. And this young man comes up to my window and knocks on it and gets my attention. And he kind of frantically asked if I have $2. See, the temperature was supposed to drop down into the 20s here in Texas, and him and his girlfriend were in a tent, and they needed propane for the night, but the place was going to close in 6 minutes at midnight, and they needed $2. They had $19 for it, but they didn't have the tax, and they were desperate. If it didn't happen in the next 5 minutes, it wasn't going to happen. And so I was able to help them out. I was actually in the right place at the right time for them. And it was such a fury of activity after I gave them the money, and they were able to go, get their propane, and they went on their way. But I was left thinking, what if I hadn't have been there? I mean, I was over an hour away from home. I wasn't really supposed to be there. Not if everything went according to my plan, but I just followed the breadcrumbs along the day, making different decisions. And that's where I ended up at that moment. And I admit at first I was thinking, I was of great service to them in that moment. I was in the right place at the right time. I had the money. I was there able to help them. The universe guided me there. And then I thought about it the flip side. What if they were there for me? What if I was to begin thinking about, it bothered me that they were sleeping in a tent. When I really thought about it, I could have done more. There's more that I can do. And I've been, thinking about different ways that, how can I create a foundation? How can I create some support? How can I support other foundations that, how can I make a bigger difference? And there's a whole realm of opportunities there that I was not necessarily thinking about. It wasn't on my radar. So what if they were there for me so I could make a bigger difference? Now, I could easily say, that was a one-off experience, and, I was there, I was able to help them, and that's it. But what if I'm the one to make a difference? And because I have that little compulsion inside to make a difference, what if there's something bigger that I can do? So I'm in the thinking right now. And if you hear me and you know how I can plug in, then you can contact me and say, hey, I have a suggestion. But this leads me to another question that I want to throw out there for you. What if everything's happening for you? It's not happening to you. Everything is happening for you. The universe has your back. What if you really are a spiritual being immersed in the human experience, and that you're not really thinking from your spiritual dimension, that you're capable, you're so much more powerful than you give yourself credit for? What if you really got how powerful you were? What if? Well, that's the question I'm going to leave you with on this 5-Minute Friday. This is your friend and host, Daniel D'Neuville, urging you to follow your bliss. Let's say it this way. What if you lived your life from inner signals? What if you chose to live your life as an epic adventure? Ponder that.